Navigating today's real estate market can be tricky. Want to buy or sell a house, finance or insure a house, or stuck with a house and don't know what to do? Florida Talk Real Estate has been your local one-stop real estate shop since 2012. Get the advice you need from your local real estate pros. Here are your hosts, Jim DePola and Johnny C. live on Real Radio.
Yeah, that's right. Live on a Saturday. Great to have you with us. Thank you. Thank you all for joining the 2-hour fest that is Florida Talk Real Estate on a Saturday. Ah, yes. Nice, brisk Saturday morning. Last day of hurricane season. It's wonderful to have you with us. Hopefully there'll be a little blowing going on today outside. I see Timothy's maybe not agreeing. We'll find out. You're welcome to join us as always. Remember, I see your entry points out there, 92.1, 101.7. Thank you for being out there. Of course, if you got your free download, your iHeartRadio app, awesome to have you with us. We're worldwide. Live streaming on a Saturday. The cameras are set up. Join us on Facebook and YouTube. That's Florida Talk Real Estate on both. And you can be a part of the program as well. Questions, comments, concerns in the world of real estate, you can dial in toll free. We're live on a Saturday. Last day of hurricane season, as noted. 877-927-6969. I'll keep giving it to you. Again, you want to be a part of the program? Jump on in. The first voice you'll hear, the melodious tones of our producer extraordinaire, my brother from another mother. There's Timothy. How you doing, my dude?
Hello, and a good morning, Jonathan. Hope you had a great Thanksgiving and your weekend is starting off well.
Yeah, so far so good. I always like a little bite in the air on a make it feel festive.
Sure.
That's like how we know it's the holiday season in Florida. Yeah. It's a little chill.
Cold front that we had come through.
Where you're like, ooh, maybe I get to make a fire.
How about that?
Maybe. And I know last day of hurricane season makes everybody super excited.
Yeah. Right? I was happy to see that whatever that little system that had potential southwest of Cuba just turned out to be a nothing burger. So I was able to take some hurricane panels down from my parents' house.
Until next year.
Made mom very happy.
Absolutely. Good to see you as always, my friend. Let's get your starting lineup on this Saturday morning. It consists of our fearless leader. I've told you for 12 plus years now, he runs a top producing Keller Williams team. I'm going to almost be saying 13 years here real soon, by the way. He'll tell us when it's coming. Yeah, it's soon.
That's right.
It's soon. I know that much. Keller Williams Innovations, you find the Florida Home Pros team and my guy, Jimmy D. There's Jim DePola. How you be, Jimmy D?
Hey, I'm doing great, Johnny. Great, Timothy. How are you guys doing today?
Awesome.
Very good. Thank you.
Was your guys' Thanksgiving pretty good?
Mine was, I get a house full of family. So, you know what I mean? Isn't that what it's about?
Yeah,
it is. I was suffering all day. I woke up with the worst neck.
Oh,
my neck. I felt like I maybe slept underneath like my bed or something. It was weird. Yeah, it was a miserable day, health wise or physically wise, I should say. But everything else was amazing. And you?
Everything. Our family had a really nice Thanksgiving over at my sister's house. We were very blessed to be all together and everything. Everybody healthy and happy. So it was really, really nice. Just very blessed. And Timothy, did you get a chance to celebrate?
Sure. Yeah,
did
we had some. Yep. Mom was over and we had a nice turkey dinner. You know, we would normally do. So yeah, I mean, it's nice having family together. So
yeah, it really is. So
to celebrate that for sure.
Yeah. And I just want to offer condolence to somebody. I found out over the weekend that Bill, I guess I could say his name now because I don't usually say last names, but Bill Etheridge passed. He was a customer of ours. He was an older gentleman, and I saw on Facebook that he had passed over the weekend. And I've kept in touch with him. I sold his house like maybe 5 years ago, and he moved down to the Keys, and then he moved to a different part of Florida to be with relatives. And we kept in touch over the time. And I'll never forget the first time I met him at his house. He was going nuts. Now, this guy was probably in his 70s or 80s at the time. And he was livid because one of the social media, and maybe a bunch of them, had cut him off for being too political about stuff, right? And to be honest with you, I probably would have cut him off too with the stuff he was putting out there. But, you know, free speech is free speech. And he was a pistol. He didn't care. And his attitude was, I'm going to say my mind, and that's the way I'm going to be. So I always respected him for that.
Sure.
And we kept in touch through the years just because of that. He was just a funny old coot. And he had a daughter that he was very proud of because she was she was in the Air Force as an Air Force pilot,
Awesome.
and was really, really proud of that. I think she was a lieutenant colonel or something like that.
Rightfully so.
And yeah, so anyway, he was just a really great guy, and I'm really sorry to see that he passed. And I'm wishing the best to the family, and hope everything's okay.
Yeah.
We have a lot to be. I was thinking as we were coming in. First of all, Ross didn't know we were doing the show today, so that he was booked. He couldn't come in, and then Mike wasn't feeling well. That's why we're a little short staffed right now. So Mike decided to take off today. I hope you feel better.
Yeah. Really.
So I had to change around the show a little bit, and I was like, you know what? Even though that we didn't get to do the show before Thanksgiving because we were preempted by football, we could at least talk a little bit about thank yous on this show. So there are so many people that we work with through this radio show throughout the years, people like Bill and so many other people that come and call us for help, and we talk to them and don't hear from a while, or they come back and things like that. So I just wanted, there's so many people we've been working with, the Florida Home Pros, and all part of the Florida Talk Real Estate group, that I wanted to give some shout outs today. So first, I wanted to say to Joanna and John, thank you for trusting me to sell your property. John is a banker up in New York. His mom lives down here. She needs to move into a different type of home. So it's time to sell. And we just put the house on the market. People on Facebook and YouTube, if you want, you're going to see the property here. Just hold on one second. It's a really nice 2-bedroom, 2-bath with a den, this property. And it's only $275,000. It's a villa with a 2-car garage. The reason why it's priced so low, this house probably would normally be selling in the high 4s to maybe in the 5s. But it's a membership equity community. So you're going to pay a minimum of $65,000 on top of the purchase price just to move into the community. And then there's other fees on top of it. It's in the community of Aberdeen, really popular, one of the most, maybe in the top 2 premier social membership, golf club memberships in Boynton Beach. Really great community. This one's gated. It feels like a single family home because it's a villa and they're attached. They're single story. So you don't even share a driveway, but you do share a wall between the 2 houses. But really, really nice. This has superb lake views, this property. And really nice to look at. And when you walk in, you can see how bright and airy the property is. Oh, I'm telling you, I'm showing it to you, but I'm not because I didn't click the right button. So I'll show you on the other one.
That's funny.
But this unit is really, really nice. It's funny. Yeah, Jim. I haven't been on the show for 2 weeks, so it's a little rusty here. But thank you, Joanna and John. Looking forward to sell it. Here's the thing: it's a 55 and over community. So we put the house on the market last week. And the reason why we did that is we didn't wait for the season, because a lot of people say, oh, I'll wait till after the holidays to put my house on the market. But 55 and over, you want to put your house on the market as soon as the season starts, because that's when everybody comes, and they're going to be leaving around Easter. So you've got this 4 or 5 minute, I'm sorry, people are calling me from the radio show. I apologize about that. You have to be very cognizant of the type of property you're selling in the season you're in. So it's better to put the house on the market during the holidays, even though it might be considered an inconvenience to the homeowners. With 55 and over, you're much better to put the house on the market as soon as you can, and try to avoid putting it on the market in the summer. Do not do that, because if you put it on this summer, it's going to sit there for probably quite a long time. You're going to be very disappointed
Those are the
with
lean
the results.
times
Yeah,
for
yeah.
that
Then you're going to
specific-
sit around waiting.
Right.
Hold on here 1 second. Just bear with
Remember,
me.
Florida Talk Real Estate is .com, your one-stop real estate shop, floridatalkrealestate.com. You get access to the entire team members that are missing today, and often on a Saturday. You're like, oh yeah, we hear Mike, and I know we hear Ross every now and then. Oh man, Florida Talk Real Estate is much more powerful than just the regular voices on the show, and we're blessed to have the personalities that join us every Saturday. But there's some reach to this team, and you have anything that you're dealing with in the world of real estate, buying a home, selling a home, stuck with a home, you don't know what to do, all the way through to dealing with student loan debt. I'm telling you, if it touches the world of real estate, we got a pro for you at floridatalkrealestate.com. FloridaTalkRealEstate.com.
Thank you, Johnny. And we're going to be talking about some of that help as we go through this list of people. I wanted to do a shout out to Rachel and James. They actually came to me from the law office of Paula Krasker. James lost his father recently. They have this really super, super nice home in Palm Beach Gardens. No HOA, cinder block home, pool. Check this out, 6 bedrooms, 2 baths, right? Over a 1/4 acre lot, gigantic pool. And this is what I love about, as soon as I walked into this house, first of all, I couldn't believe how well kept it was because it's a 1970 something house, but it doesn't look 1970s. It's got a 2020 roof, updated AC, updated water heater, newer carpeting, freshly painted. The house is really on point, but it's got the 1970 Florida pool.
Oh,
They don't make those pools like that anymore, right? 8 feet is really 8 feet deep. It isn't like you stand at 6 feet and you're, you know, you're at your chest and you feel like you're a giant because it says it's 6 feet tall and really it's 5 foot of water.
right.
8 feet in the old Florida pools, it was 8 feet or more. It was usually the opposite way. And the pools were super, super wide back then.
Mhm.
And a real 15 by 30
Sure.
was really 15 by 30 for real. Not like today, if you buy a pool and they say it's 15 by 30, most of the time they aren't. So really, really nice pool in this backyard. I love it. Used to have a diving board because back then, before code change, you could have the diving board in the backyard. Had the slide back then.
Oh,
Yeah,
so good.
yeah.
So really, really
Yeah.
nice house.
8 foot. Yeah, you can have a diving
Yeah,
board.
and it's a perfect for a larger family. What also I love about this property, it's in Palm Beach Gardens. It's 286 Holly Drive. The other thing I love about this property is walking distance to the elementary, high school, and middle schools in Palm Beach Garden. All 3 of them you could walk, and right across the street is a small park called the Ironwood Neighborhood Park. So there's even a park for the kids across the street.
Sweet.
Great walking neighborhood. I checked it out. Drive time to toes in the sand is 11 minutes, right? So Easton 95 is what I'm saying basically on this property. Just really great home. We have it listed at 750. And Rachel and James, thank you so much for trusting me to list the property. And they're going through a probate process with Paul. And that's one of the things you were talking about, Johnny, how everybody can help. When you call us up, you get more than just one-dimensional service. So they went to Paul. Paul looked at their probate and estate issues that they needed to do. Then they realized they were selling the property. Paul sent them over to us to send them over to me to be, to interview for the job. They liked what they heard. They took it. Later, we got insurance quotes from Ross Camarinets from Brightway Insurance. On all our listings, we put insurance quotes up with the listing so that mortgage brokers like Mike, when they're trying to budget what they could offer on a house, they have a better figure than just estimating 1.5 or 2% for the insurance policy. That's
Right.
what a lot of mortgage companies do. They estimate 1.5 to 2% of the purchase price of the home as the cost for the insurance.
And what you give them is here's a real snapshot of
right.
what insurance looks like from at least, one contender.
Yes, and it really helps out with that. So Rachel and James, thank you so much for trusting us on that situation. Over the time we were off, over the 2 weeks that we were off, I did put 2 houses under contract, which was nice. Just wanted to give a little quick shout out to those people. First of all, I wanted to give a shout out to Chris and Amy. We put their house on the market. It was a very nice 3-bedroom, 2-bath Port St. Lucie home. This is the guy I told you that Chris is really sharp with real estate. He works in a different career. He works for a grocery store chain, but he had owned a property. This is like 8, 9 years ago, and maybe 15 years ago. I'm sorry. He owned a property. Then he bought a new construction home. And then when he moved into the new construction home, he kept his the property he originally lived in and kept it as a rental. Then they needed a bigger home. So what they ended up doing was selling the rental home, took the proceeds of that to help buy the new home that they've been in now for over 8 or 9 years. And then they kept the home that they built and turned that into a rental. So that was a 2007 home. We just put it on the market about 11 to 12 days ago. We didn't have that many showings. We had 4 or 5 showings in 11 days, which actually in today's market, I'm going to say that actually was pretty good.
I was gonna say it sounds like
Yeah,
they got
that
some
actually was.
attention.
I'm so
Yeah.
not. I'm so used to more, but it didn't
You
matter.
got poisoned just like
I
everybody
know,
else.
I know. I drank the
Yeah,
Kool-Aid.
everybody got poisoned over the last handful of years in so many ways, and you're one of them too.
And I drank the Kool-Aid. I
Yeah,
did. So
poisoned.
yep. So with this property, he went in. It was pretty trash when the renter came out. So he went in and he freshened up the whole place. He painted the inside and out, and he did the floors, and he put in brand new appliance package, updated the electrical, all ready to go, turnkey ready. We put the house on the market for 425. We ended up taking 430 on this property. However, it wasn't a bidding war. What happened was we had a buyer, and this is kind of interesting for sellers to understand what's happening in this market. We had a buyer that really needed $15,000 to buy the house. They're self-employed. They weren't showing the right income and stuff in order to get what they were qualified for, I guess, and they needed help from the seller to give them some money for the down payment assistance, right? So what we did was we negotiated that we give him the credit, but we raised the price a little bit of the house just to take some of the sting off of it. We're still 3 or 4% above what Chris was hoping to get in his mind, even though I thought he would get more than that. And now we're going to have the appraisal on Wednesday. I'm not too worried about it because of all the upgrades in the house. But Chris was really smart about a couple of things. There's many, many houses in his neighborhood that looks just like Chris's. They're on the market 90 days, 100 days, 120 days, 150 days. It happens, right? Why did Chris sell in 2 weeks and under? Number one, he priced it right. Okay. Number two, he actually did the stuff needed to make the house desirable, where people felt that not only was the price good, but they felt like they were getting value from the house that they were buying. And in this case, the value is that Chris was willing to give the down payment assistance. Apparently, they went to 2 other houses before us, and both sellers said, no, we're not doing it. Right. So those sellers are probably still sitting there without an offer, and we're racing to close right now. So thank you, Chris and Amy, for trusting us on this and for taking my advice and then working with me. And he didn't just take my advice blindly. We had real discussions. I actually was going to put the house on the market just slightly lower than what he had it at. It was such a negligible difference. I was like, well, let's just go with your number if you feel better with that. But it worked out perfectly.
Yeah.
The other one I wanted to do that we just put under contract, we just put on contract right before Thanksgiving was John.
Can I just ask one quick
Sure,
question,
please.
in regards to that property you just spoke about?
Mhm.
So, yes, you found a buyer that knew what they needed, actually seeked it out from multiple offering opportunities, couldn't get it in return, found it with you guys. But you noted that there were multiple properties in that neighborhood that looked just like his that were on the market for 90 days, 100 days. So, price point, yeah. And that you did find that one buyer that you were willing to have some wiggle room with, right, to make the sale happen. But what else really stood out from that property, Jim? Is it marketing? Like how does that one? And I get you kind of got the buyer that knew their need, and you guys worked it. You had a conversation. This is how we can do it. Here's how we can take the sting off of it. We'll raise the price a little bit, and everybody had the same desire to get the sale done, right? So we worked together, both sides got it done. But like that's an anomaly in a way, because that's a particular buyer and you guys worked with them. But what about your property, do you think, besides that lucky aspect, stands out?
It's hard for me to answer that for sure, but I really use a formula when I try to sell my houses. I use a formula that's pretty basic formula. I mean, it's nothing like, it's not rocket science, but people don't always look at it there, but it works, right? So the more it works, and of course I tweak it when the market changes.
Sure.
But what you have to do is you have to figure out from the buyer's perspective, what is the value of this home? Now, during the crazy time, during COVID, where, you were getting minimum 12, 10 to 12 offers in 3 days, right? Minimum, right? No matter what you price it at, people would just throw money at you. You're going to handle that market much differently and you're going to, and you know what I call pushing the limits. I'm going to push on that, right? Because somebody's going to give it to you, right? Somebody's going to give you a number. So it's like, wow, I can't believe we got that number.
Nice.
But in the market like today, and we're going to get into that later, we're going to talk about the market update because it's really important to understand what's happening in the future next year. But in the market today, you can't do that. You can't push the limits. If you push the limits, you're going to miss out. And that's why we have so many houses that look almost the same as each other. And they might sell for 8 to 10% different. Same neighborhood, same type of house, almost the same condition. And it could sell for 10% difference. Why? If you try to push the limits in this market and you have a seller or an agent that's like, oh, let's put it up here because the agent's trying to press the seller, or the seller's unrealistic as to really what's happening in their neighborhood, and they put it up at a price that's too high, okay, it'll sit there and then they start dropping the price to get down to what the buyers feel is value. When you do that, Johnny, when you finally hit the price where the value is true, nobody wants to give it to you because, like, well, you've been on the market 120 days. Why am I going to give you that number?
Right.
Well, I just dropped the price a week ago, right? I just dropped it a week ago to the right price. But it doesn't matter. It's been on the market 120 days.
It's a place of weakness, as you've taught us over the years. It's perceived as you're in a weak spot now. You're super desperate.
And the other thing that could really hurt you is to take an offer and then the deal falls apart in this kind of market. And then you go what's called, when you go into a contract with the property, you either go in pending or active under contract, right? And then after, if the deal doesn't close and the deal falls apart for any reason, it doesn't appraise, they don't like the inspection, negotiations go bad, then you got to put it back on market. But when you put it back on market, it doesn't say active, it says back on market. That's another thing that could really hurt you.
Sure.
Because the buyers automatically, every time I talk to sellers and I go, when you see something back on market, what's the first thing that pops into your head? And they all say the same thing. Something's wrong with the property.
Yep.
Either it didn't appraise or the inspection's no good. Something's wrong with the property. Sometimes it's the buyer. I just had a deal that did have to go back on market because the buyers got laid off in the middle of our closing. So they couldn't afford the house anymore. So we had to put it back on market. It wasn't anything to do with the house. The house was fine. But it was the buyers that couldn't qualify for the loan anymore.
It's always going to be perceived, though. Yeah,
but it hurts, right?
Always,
It hurts,
yeah.
so you got to do it. The other thing I think makes a difference, Johnny, is taking the time to stage the house to make it look properly on the MLS. People don't realize how important the videos and the photos are of a property because that's your first showing. Your first showing isn't when they turn the doorknob at your house.
Right.
The first showing is when they're sitting in their pajamas, clicking at 12 o'clock at night on Zillow, just messing around trying to find a dream home, right? You got to have those photos be on point so it makes them stop and look at your house over all the other houses because there's a lot of houses for sale.
Right.
So Chris handled everything the correct way, and I was really I'm always happy to work with Chris and his family. I think this is the 4th transaction his family has done with us. He keeps coming back to us, knock on wood, because we keep performing. But it's also because we think alike and we have a big trust with each
Good
other.
rapport, yeah.
Yeah, and Chris is a very sharp guy, so sometimes I don't always agree. There's another guy like that, Hugo, that I deal with a lot. Chris is very sharp with real estate, even though he doesn't have, quote, a background in real estate. So I listen to him more carefully sometimes because I'm like, hey, this guy's been sharp on a lot of his real estate decisions. Let's go with his gut. Sometimes, it's important to put your ego aside and go, you know what? Let's take his idea and let's go run with that. And it'll work.
Yeah, that's awesome. Well, and thank you for taking the time to answer that. I know it
Thank
felt
you,
like
John.
a weird question.
No,
at the
not at
time,
all.
But so, I noted when we started that we're closing in on almost 13 years, right?
Yeah.
What is it, like
January 7th.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah. Yep. We're right around the corner.
So over the 13 years, one of the things that's been like, so there's a lot of consistency in the expertise for a lot of the pros, right? There's only so much they can do. The parameters are kind of in place, right? But for your expertise, the realtor side of things, watching over the almost 13 years now, as the markets change, you have to be nimble and shift. I love the saying, a plan that can't change is a bad plan. and your plans have to evolve with the market constantly. And it's been a constant evolution over the almost 13 years.
You have to change it.
You do. So as I've watched you and the plan more, I guess, intimately or closely at sometimes, because I've worked much more closely with the team at some aspects, watching the evolution to see how things change to still maximize the value for your customers. Because I mean, there's a lot of realtors out there that just don't have the stats, right? Your stats. What do you make for, like, when you put a list price out, what do you sell at? There's a percentage there, right? You want to hit that number as high as you can. When you're selling the same thing, your stats matter. And as you've evolved over the 13 years, the stats always stay super high. So it's always fascinating to watch the evolution from, especially your very valuable part of the Florida Talk Real Estate team, because again, you're the one that has to be the most nimble in a lot of ways. Everybody else kind of has we work within these bumpers, and there's only so much we can do. And that's not knocking anybody. It's
just the parameters of the job.
The job, the profession.
Yep.
Yours has to have this constant evolution and to see it like almost change
week
a couple times in a year.
Yeah,
like,
it could be week by week sometimes.
It can, neighborhood to neighborhood in a way. It's just fascinating to see the approaches.
Just to give you a real life example, because nobody's perfect, obviously, but a couple of the houses I took earlier this year have been on the market more than 120 days now. Now, I kept trying to figure
out. I know you
which is,
that.
I have I'm the 21 day guy. I get done 78% for the last 12 years.
Well, it's a stat
until
buster
this year.
What it is.
Yeah.
It's a stat buster.
For the last almost 12 years, except for this year, 78% of my homes sell in 21 days or less. Right? 78%. That's really unusual.
8 out of 10.
Yeah. 8 out of 10 homes are, 3 weeks, your house is sold. Now we're just waiting to inspection, appraisal, get it done.
And again, not giving them away.
We were setting records a lot of times.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
So we're not selling them low. We're just selling them in a speedy time frame because we were offering value to the home and we were presenting it the right way and hopefully good negotiation marketing skills.
Sure.
This year has been really, really tough. And there's a couple homes that have been really straggling for me. And I went back, and they're driving me crazy because
I know
I keep working. And in fact, we have one showing this morning while we're on the air right now. And with those properties, though, this is what I realized. It's like, why? Why did these not go? Because the couple of new properties I just put on the market, they went in a couple of weeks, right? Chris went in 14 days. John went in 7
comparatively,
days.
where you have homes that are like kind of like the same in a lot of ways. Yeah.
And here's the difference. When I put those houses on the market, it was right around May. In May was when we hit the highest interest rates for the whole year, 7.22 under Freddie Mac. And when we hit 7.22 on Freddie Mac, all the buyers went away.
Right.
And they haven't really come back with any kind of strength. We have buyers. There are buyers in the market, but they're kind of straggling. You get 3 showings in 5 days, and then you don't have another showing for 10. Right? Like that kind of thing. One of my houses went under contract recently after the buyer looked at the property 5 times. They came back and looked at that property before they made an offer. And they turned in an offer on 2 other properties that got rejected before they turned the offer in on ours. Because buyers are choosy right now, and they can be. There's more inventory, and they don't feel as rushed, and they're paying a lot of money. They're paying really high insurance. They're paying really high interest rates comparatively to what other people paid. So if they don't get what they want, they're not doing it.
Yep.
And that's what you have to understand as a seller. If you need to sell, right? That's what you have to understand. And if you miss that, that's how you get caught in 100+ days. And trying to correct it after it happens is very, very difficult. So just be careful. In today's market, it's really, really important to price it correctly and market it correctly.
Sounds like greed oftentimes is one of the more biggest hurdles.
It can be. It's funny because I understand that you could say it's greedy, but
Well, you
They
always.
don't feel like they're being greedy.
Well, I think I when I sell my home, and I hope to do that. Sometime
soon, right? Soon,
yeah. Not on the market, so that's why. But yeah, like I'm gonna have an idea what I'd like to make on it. There is what I kind of need to make on it, right? Because we're gonna be transitioning to another home. But there's there's a sweet spot, right? And then anything over is just gravy. You just have to kind of have it in your head, as you noted with I think it was Chris's example. He had this idea what he was hoping to make, and it fell in there even with the concession. Unless I'm not confused,
it worked. Yep, it worked.
So I don't know. I maybe that's a proper consultation or an expectation going in. I don't know what that setup is, but yeah, if it's not in your head right, the only way I can feel that it gets tilted to one side is greed.
To me, it's unrealistic as to what's happening in the market more than greed.
Okay, that's probably better said.
I'm being fair to the customers, right? So I don't think most of them. Some of them are like, well, if I don't get this price, I don't care. I'm never selling it, right?
And
that's okay to have that attitude.
Yeah.
And if you sell for that price, great. And if you don't, that's great. You have it out there. If you get what you want, take it. If you don't get what you want, don't take it. But at the same time, you have to really understand what's happening in the market, and you have to decide, do you really need to sell it? The people that are selling their houses faster in today's market are the ones that are highly motivated. I just took a listing last night from Roberto and Yanelli. Thank you so much for trusting us. We helped buy their property in 2018. It was so nice to go back to him, Johnny, because I haven't seen him since 2018, and we've made phone calls, but they haven't picked up and stuff over the years.
Sure.
Just to say hello. And he called. He works for Coca-Cola. He's being transferred to Orlando. He needs to sell here. He's going to be buying up there eventually. And he was like, it was so nice sitting at the kitchen table with them yesterday. And they were like, you're our people. We'd like to use Mike when we buy up there. Mike Rao from the mortgage firm. We're going to use your group because you did so great for us the first time.
Excellent.
Right, which makes me really happy. But they were very motivated to sell at a right price. They don't want to be on the market 100 and some odd days because Roberto is going to be up in Orlando living in like a one-room apartment, if you will, while he's waiting for the house to sell so his whole family, his kids and his wife, can come up there and have a normal family again.
Yeah, the house is got to sell for them to actually
he doesn't want to sit there for 6 months,
right,
like being away from his wife and his kids. He doesn't want that. He needs to sell in a reasonable amount of time. What was so cool about it is that when we went over what the house was worth, he had a very big smile on his face of what he thought, what he'll net on the deal, because we do what's called a seller net sheet, where we break down all the costs to sell the property. And if you sell it at a certain price, after backing out all the costs, the real estate commissions, documentary stamp tax, the title search fees, if it's part of your deal, all of that stuff. And you know what you're going to get in your pocket if we sell it at this price. And when he saw the number, he had a smile on his face. I'm like, wow, he's going to be very reasonable and get this done. Now, if he was the kind of person that even wanted 15,000 more on the house, okay, it would have been, I really think that we're going to get it. I'm knocking on wood here. I think we're going to sell his house in 30, 40 days or less. I expect. But even if you put the house on the market for 15,000 more, that might sit there for 100 days.
Yeah.
So that and 15,000 is only about 3 or 4% of what we're talking for the purchase price. So you're off 3 or 4%, your house is going to sit there. So you got to be really careful.
Mm-hmm.
But thank you, Roberto and Yanelli, for allowing us to list your property. We're going to do a great job for you.
And I hope they're excited about moving.
Yeah, they're excited. They really love their house, which made me feel good. They really, really love their house. They said they would not sell if they didn't have to. But they're going to have a new future up there. It'll be great for them. He has a chance for advancement in his career,
cool.
And that's what he's up there for.
Awesome.
Just wanted to do a couple others. John, that's the person I was talking to just about a second ago. John came to us because he had been listening to us for years and years, and his mom wasn't doing well. And he felt like he needed to do something. Then his mom passed. And he hadn't done all the legal stuff that he thought he needed to do. So he came to me. We got him to the law office of Paul A. Krasker. He hired Paul. We put the house on the market last week. Now that one was unusual. We had 17 offers on that property in 5 days
Oh.
because it's an investment property. And we got a lot of we'll buy houses fast for cash kind of offers that I call blind offers, meaning they didn't even come out to look at the house. They just turned in an offer. So we had the house on the market for 350. The house needs new roof, new electric throughout the whole house. Everything got to be touched. It's a 1959 house. Every square inch of the house has to be touched in some way, right? So we had 17 offers. Out of the 17, 13 of them were just throwaways. They were cash offers ranging from 200,000 to 290,000 on a 350 purchase price.
They were just throwing it out.
And we just threw them away,
Yeah.
right? Those are just like wrappers on the sandwich, not the sandwich, right? And then we had 4 that were real. And the 4 were list price and 3 above list price. So we took one of the ones that were above list price. Now we were trying to get a regular family to move in because that's what John wanted, because that's what he felt like his mom wanted.
And did you price this thing knowing that it was gonna need? I mean, this is okay.
The
So
house,
this is still investors that are left standing.
Yeah, the house probably is worth 430, my opinion, 435 to 450 fixed up. Okay, so
And you were an investor. You know the
I
market.
used to, I know the numbers.
Yeah.
And I actually brought We Ugly Houses. I'll just go ahead and say the name of the company. We actually brought a representative that I know very, very well, Tom, from We Ugly Houses, came out and looked at the house first.
Sure.
And said, "Hey, Tom, this is what we want for the property. Could you give us what the seller's asking for?" And he came out and looked at it and he goes, "No, I can't. I won't make any money at that price. But if you put it at the price that you're thinking of, somebody's going to buy it for that price." And we did. We had many, many offers, and we put that under contract right away. And thank you, John, for trusting us.
Awesome.
We closed the night before Thanksgiving. We went into contract the night before Thanksgiving. They're going to be doing the inspection Monday, and we'll be rocking and rolling after that. So
really, this inspection is just going to be any like major surprises that literally nobody knows about because everybody's pretty aware of what needs to be done.
Thank you, Johnny. What I think what we should do is, and I'm going to just show the property just really quick here. What I wanted to tell you is on this is with this particular property, when we went to the 4 people to find out which of the people are going to make an offer on this house doesn't even have a driveway. Okay, the driveway was gravel, and over the years it have been grown over. And when you pull into the yard, you don't know where the driveway is, and when you drive over, you can't even hear the gravel.
Yeah.
There's so much grass.
It's not like you can't like see like, oh, that's the
No.
weed line right there.
Yeah, there's
You know?
nothing,
You know?
right?
Oh.
So this house needs a lot of stuff. So what we explained to everybody to turn an offer, if we accept your offer, you have to understand we're going to let you do the inspection. We want you to, because we're never going to want the seller to sell you a house that you don't know everything about. We
Right.
want you to know everything. But don't come back and tell us that the roof is shot or the windows are old or the kitchen is original or the bathroom's original or the flooring's original.
Electric.
The fuse box needs to be replaced. Yes, they have the circular fuse box where you put the pennies in.
Wow.
You know, one of those kinds.
Mhm.
Jeepers.
So it had all of that. We're going, look, we don't want to hear it. You know, unless you find out that there's Formosa termites that have eaten the concrete foundation.
Right. Something that nobody knows.
Well, that would be different.
Right.
Right. But unless you find something like that, we don't want to hear it. So because a lot of investors, they'll put it under contract. They'll put it at an unrealistic price under contract to beat everybody else, like elbow all the other offers out.
Right.
And then they got control of the property. Then they do the inspection and go, hey, the roof's sold. Right? There's a fuse box here. There's this, there's that. I'm like, no, we told you all that.
We're not doing this song.
We're not playing that game.
Yeah.
So, but and we sold it very fast. We sold that house in 7 days, right? We got to get through the inspection, but I'm not too worried about it.
Yeah.
And even if we did, we could put that house back on the market and get another 17 offers.
Super cool.
You know, if we had to do that. So thank you, John, for trusting us. So far, everything's going really good for John.
Good.
And every time I call up John, he's prepared for the worst.
All right.
Every time I call up, he goes, are you
Uh-oh.
going to give me bad news? I'm like, no, John, I'm giving you
Not,
great news.
not this call.
Yeah, I go, I can't guarantee it's never going to happen,
Right.
but it's not happening now. The other people I wanted to say, and we just closed with them, and I took a listing with them, was Carrie, Charlotte, and Tammy. Charlotte lives on a second story. She's a senior. She lives on a second story unit with no elevator. So she's getting up there in age. So she doesn't want to live on the second story anymore. So we needed to sell. We talked about this about a month ago. We needed to sell her unit and then buy a new unit for her that was on the first floor somewhere else.
Right.
So instead of selling her unit first, which we normally do as a seller buyer, right? You sell the unit and then buy the new place with the money from the first place. Charlotte was lucky enough that the kids were able to buy the place for her first. So we went out and found her a house, bought it, closed on it last week. Then we took the listing this week to put her house on the market. The reason why we did it that way is her condo is dated, and and there was a lot of furniture in there, a lot, right? So I felt it would be better to sell the condo if everything was out of it.
Yeah.
But we also knew the carpeting was going to be shot, and it was carpeted out throughout the whole house. And the house really needed a paint job on the inside. Everything else is still pretty dated in the house, but it's all functional and fine. So
you clean it out, get the carpet out of there, paint it, and it's a totally different. Oh, man, look at this.
I can move in and I don't have to worry about
Right.
anything. There's no leaks and everything works. It's just, and the appliances are good and they're not brand new, but they're not ancient.
Right.
But there's original cabinets and original vanity, but it's all functional and fine. And once you put in the new carpet and the paint, it's going to smell fresh and clean, and and we clean it correctly.
Right up.
So they took my advice and they went out and hired a painter, and they're working on the carpeting people right now.
Cool.
Thank you, H&H Carpeting in Boynton or Delray. We have a guy, Mike, that's been with us. He's a big fan of the show. I call him Carpet Mike in my phone. And he's probably done 10 to 12 deals for us over the years. I like using H&H Carpet over Home Depot because Home Depot is very slow to install. H&H, if they give you a price, they can get out there sometimes the same week and get the thing done for you. So, and they're very competitive to Home Depot. So thank you, H&H, for working with them. And thank you guys for trusting me to sell and buy the new property. I know, okay, let's just go ahead and plow through to the 10 o'clock, guys, if you
Sure.
don't mind. I didn't realize 9:42, but I wanted to talk about something. Go ahead,
just
John.
do this real quick, since we're going to continue to do that. If you'd like to be a part of the program, and I understand there's a weird entry points, but you're always welcome. 877-927-6969. If you have a question, comment, concern in the world of real estate, you can dial in. Always remember, if you're not comfortable on the radio, Florida Talk Real Estate is .com. On Facebook and YouTube, where we are live streaming on a Saturday. Excuse me. But at FloridaTalkRealEstate.com, your one-stop real estate shop, you have access to the entire team. These are pros, experts in their field, and you get them all at FloridaTalkRealEstate.com. There's a hotline. You'll see it, 888-973-7828. Dial it up. If you like picking up the phone, making a phone call, you can call that 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. But remember, FloridaTalkRealEstate.com. Know it, use it, love it, share it.
Thank you so much. I just want to do some shout outs for the people here over the weekend on Facebook and YouTube. Betty, thank you so much for coming in. Mike's not feeling well today, but he's fine. I think he has hair of the dog and he doesn't want to tell us, but I'm not sure. Yeah. I don't know. That's what I'm betting on. Daryl's listening to us from South Carolina right now. Daryl is, been a big customers of ours over the years, and we helped him get up to South Carolina. So Daryl, thank you for, reaching out to us, and I hope you had a really great Thanksgiving with your family up there. Mom, thanks for reaching out. Nathan, happy Thanksgiving to you too. Wishing you the best. Francis, one of our top fans on the show. Good morning to you, Francis. Hope you had a good Thanksgiving. Joyce E, I call her Mrs. E now.
Nice.
Right, Mrs. E, hope you're doing great. Hope you had a good day with your son on Thursday. And Betty, I'm so glad that you're back here once in a while again. Betty is a big fan. We helped work with her and got her up to Tallahassee a few years ago, 5 or 6 years ago, I think it was. And if I'm not mistaken, I think Betty is a big crime podcast fanatic.
Oh, nice.
So I want to tell you, Betty, I told her a story that I was working on for a novel someday, and she fell in love with it. And I want to let you know, Betty, I think on my birthday in January, I'm going to be starting a new YouTube podcast called Jimmy D's True Crime, where I'm going to rip out a headline from all the articles I wrote as the Sentinel.
I hope so.
And I'm going to, I have my first one lined up.
Good.
I have the first
You've
one
talked
lined
about
up
this
already.
for a while.
Well, it's been months because I got to learn how to do the B-roll behind not just me talking, but the stuff behind it.
Sure.
That's the hard part for me. I
Gotcha.
could sit there and talk, believe me. But anyway, I'm going to be doing a podcast on YouTube called Jimmy D's True Crime. So looking forward to that. So maybe you want to check that out.
Heck yeah. Let me ask. So on Facebook there, because I'm not a Facebook guy, can you do like little emojis, like little response things that kind of pop up? Like
they do. Yeah.
All right. So everybody that's streaming right there, just by show of response, however you can respond, how many of y'all rooting for them Gator boys today against the Knolls?
Oh, are they playing today? I didn't even know
7
that.
o'clock today.
Ah.
This is last game of the year, right?
It is.
Regular season.
Gators are going bowling. Unfortunately for the Knolls, no soup for you.
I think that's why Ross isn't here today. Now we know why Ross isn't
here. I wasn't going to say anything. But a show of hands of applause, a heart sign. Gator fans out there represent in the Facebook chat there, please.
How they finish up, because I've kind of been away from a lot of things. So because you said they're going bowl, and so
bowl
that means
last week. So the Gators actually
they won 6.
They have just peeled. Well, they're going to win 7 after today.
After today, okay.
Yep, up in Doak is where the 7th win is hiding right now. They have now beat back-to-back ranked opponents, including just upsetting Ole Miss and essentially by all intents and purposes knocking them out of college playoff contention.
Right.
Yeah, chaos can still happen, but yeah, beat them. They were a 14-point dog, beat them at home last week.
No kidding.
Get you some of that, Ole Miss. What up, Lane Kiffin? You like that?
And I see Alabama's 13th right now. Right?
They are on the outside looking in. Yeah, but that's a 3-loss Bama team, so they should be on the outside looking in. If you ask me, 3 losses.
I thought the Gators. I didn't really follow the Gators at all this year. Any college, to be honest with you. I thought the Gators weren't doing good at the beginning of the year.
No, it was rough. It's still rough. But man, is it promising.
Oh, okay, that's cool.
You know what that team does? Fight.
Huh. That's interesting. So I'm missing out on some good games.
Well, here's a little history for you. I know you are a Gator.
Mm-hmm.
This is the first year the Gators actually had a true freshman quarterback and a true freshman running back starting at the same time.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Because it's, injuries have kind of set themselves up for it. But when you're doing well with that kind of real youth, we're talking about 18-year-olds, right?
Sure.
Kids. I mean, there's kids like all over the field, obviously, but that is promising. And again, when they're not doing well, and then to see them fight and get better later in the year, they're all buying in. They're playing for Coach Nape, whether you like them or not. And they're selling out for each other. So go Gators.
That's pretty cool. I
can't say so much for the Knolls though.
Yeah, they're not doing. They're really doing bad.
And when I say suck, I mean.
And talk about though going from good success to way down. I mean, they really dropped off, obviously, with all the changes that they had at Florida State.
Well, so it's funny because everybody gets, whether we're talking about real estate or college football, you kind of get poisoned by that recent memory bias. Coach Norvell has been with Florida State. I believe this is his 5th year.
Okay,
3 seasons missing bowl games, 3 of 5.
Right.
The first 2, and I actually think Knowles fans will tell you, because I think this is factual, I think he won more games every year until this year. So they were like a 4-win team, a 5-win team. I think they won 10 games. They won 13 last year, I think it was, whatever. They were undefeated.
Sure.
And then, lost in their bowl game, right? And then 2 this year. So, yeah, I mean, they were, you know what they were? Very lucky and successful in the transfer portal to get a guy or two. They had NFL caliber guys that aren't on that team right now, but they weren't recruits, right? They were transfer portal guys. And that's no way to survive every year.
It feels like, though, with the changes with the portal and that type of thing, we're going to see that more and more, where a team's going to go from 11-0 to 2 something, because they change. I mean, it's like the NFL now, where these guys are moving.
If you don't recruit, that will happen.
Yeah.
Yes.
I mean,
we get response in the Facebook.
Not yet.
Let's see.
Just Betty said I'm here. That's it. That's it. So nobody's responded.
We must not be on. Must not be.
Yeah, it's on.
That's foul. You don't even fake it.
Yeah, I should have lied and said, "Hey, 50 people said this."
That's foul.
Hey,
Go Gators.
I wanted to talk just a little bit because I love the critter stories about Florida. It's one of the great things about living in Florida. So we talked a little bit about alligators a couple of weeks ago, but this article was a little better because it told us how many alligators are around. Do you know how many alligators are in Florida?
Oh,
I would have not had any idea.
I was counting them at some point. Somebody started having a conversation with me. I had to start over.
Start over again.
Yeah. So and I was
52.
like, you know what? I'm not doing this again.
You said 52.
I'm not doing this again.
That's what you got to. No, there's 1.3 million alligators in Florida. Actually, I would have thought more. I would have thought more too.
I actually would have gone considerably more than that.
Yeah.
Who's the poor bastard that had to count that?
Yeah, exactly. So,
I mean, obviously, that's some sort of estimate, right? I mean,
obviously.
well, it has to be some type of estimate.
And how do you even base that estimate? I mean, it almost seems like a complete guess.
Well, this is what it says. Each year, the Florida Fish and Wildlife Conservation Commission takes a census of 50 alligator-infested places in Florida to gauge how many alligators are living in the state.
An average.
So that's how they do it.
Okay.
Right?
So they just go, all right, well, this place is infested. And so is this one. You said 50.
50 of them. They take
what
a
they
look
dub infested.
Right.
And then they just kind of come up with a number based on.
So since they're only looking
Really,
at
really
lakes,
nonsense.
they're only looking at lakes, right?
Only lakes.
Right. Since they're only looking
None of
at
the wetlands.
no, they said 50
canals,
lakes, right? They said
lakes.
50 lakes. So out of the 50 lakes, which lake do you think has the most alligators?
Oh, the
Well,
biggest.
Why would you go outside of Lake O?
I know exactly.
Right?
I mean,
I mean,
that's
that would
pretty
be,
obvious.
you
Yeah,
know,
it's obvious. So
Yes.
Lake Okeechobee is.
Yeah.
What they said is in Lake Okeechobee, the Florida Fish and Wildlife Conservation people counted 9,308 alligators.
They did count them.
They said, yeah, because it said 8, right? 9,308, not
They're like,
9,300.
"Ooh, that one just came out. Did you count that one already? I don't know. Did you count that one already?
Exactly,
Well, let's
exactly.
both count it.
So they
That one's
said
got
they
white
counted.
eyes.
They said they counted 9,300, but based on that 9,300 count, how many alligators do you think are in Lake Okeechobee?
Oh, based on the bank or literally in it? Is that what we're doing?
I don't know. What they're saying is how many. What's the population of alligators at Lake Okeechobee? How about that way? Because they counted 9,300, but that doesn't mean
and then
that
they use some
they extrapolate.
some number.
Yeah.
Okay.
So if they counted 9,308, how many do you think they think are living in Lake Okeechobee?
All right. So 50. Let's just do some quick math here. So they counted 9 grand. This is the
Johnny
biggest
math.
lake.
This is gonna be good.
It's gonna be. They counted 50 lakes.
Don't forget to carry the one.
400,000. It's like double. So I'm gonna say there's 22,000 gators in that.
Oh, you're pretty close. What about you, Jimmy?
My math's pretty good,
15.
Jim.
30,000.
Huh?
You weren't that far off, right? So they think there's 30,000, which is number one in the state. They think that's how many. So in the next lake that is the second highest count, and just to show you the difference, it was 9,300 counted in Lake Okeechobee. Orange Lake, which is in Alachua County, Gainesville. Orange Lake had 2,732. So there's a pretty big drop out. There's a pretty big drop off between Lake Okeechobee. Yeah, you figure that they should have the most gators, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Home of the gators.
So Lake George,
Still
which
very
is
disappointed in the Facebook people. Very disappointed
yes.
in their response.
Oh, well, let's see. Nope, no more Facebook,
Nothing?
no response on
Very
Facebook.
disappointed in you
Yep.
folks.
Let me see here. Lake George, which is also called Wake Walaka, which is in Volusia County, St. Johns County, north of Orlando. They had 2,600 alligators counted. Lake Jessup, which is in Seminole County, 2,400 alligators counted. And they're thinking that in that lake, they don't tell us the full population in each lake. The Lake Jessup, they think that there's 13,000 alligators there.
They downplay the gators in Seminole County.
Yeah, exactly. They don't like it that way.
They look down on them.
And Lake Kissimmee in Osceola County, they had 2,000 alligators counted in the state. So
How many
anyway, I
crocs?
just
They
thought that.
counting crocs too.
No, and then you never really
Crocs
hear
don't get
about
any
crocs.
love.
Yeah, they don't talk
get
about
the
crocs here.
love. Nope.
when I was a newspaper reporter, I always thought that crocs were like almost non-existent in Florida, but I find that that's not true at all.
Not true.
Right.
Yeah, there's a lot of crocs.
And they live in brackish water or salt water only?
I think I don't know the answer.
Yeah,
to
I
that.
don't
I
know
think
the
the
answer to
gators
that
can
either.
do brackish. I don't think the crocs.
Oh, I thought it
brack-
was the opposite,
don't
where
know.
the crocs were brackish. But I did one time when I was a newspaper reporter. I covered the whole from start to finish of like the life cycle and the economic cycle of alligators in Florida. It was a pretty cool story I wrote for City Link magazine when I was a reporter. So I started at the alligator farms where they were raising the baby alligators,
That's no
where they
life
were
to live, by the way.
I'm sorry, what?
That's no life to live for those little gators.
Well, I understand, but I'm just telling you the life of the whole thing, because we were also talking about the economy alligators, how they sell the skin and the meat and where it goes and all of that stuff.
Yeah.
And, the tourist stuff, like with the claws and the jaws and all that.
Those little guys like that, they don't even see the light of day.
No, they don't.
They're just kept in like
Yeah.
a
A tank. They're like a
hut.
concrete tank.
Yeah.
Yeah, concrete tank. And they
Yeah.
just crawl over each other and
It's
everything.
terrible.
But so we started there and we went to those places that had the alligator farms. So we started looking there, and then we went to the alligator hunting, right? And then we watched where they took when the hunters came back and they took the alligators to the, I don't know if you call it the packing plants or whatever, but where they would cut it up for meat and then to sell the hide. And then they would rate the hide. So it would they would look at each skin and decide which skin was worth more than other skin and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And they used almost every scrap of alligator is used in some way. It hardly goes to waste. There's hardly any
Right.
waste.
That's what
they use,
Happy
like,
said
everything.
that gator, and he gave the head to Chubbs.
Mm-hmm.
What happened? I didn't get it.
The
Oh,
movie
you're talking
Happy.
about
Happy Gilmore.
Oh, Happy
Yeah.
Gilmore. I
Yeah.
was thinking Mommy Vice, where Chubbs, not
Chubbs.
Tubbs. I was thinking
Tubbs.
Tubbs. I was thinking Tubbs. I've never seen Happy Gilmore.
Oh
No.
yeah, and then
I've never
and
seen it. I need to watch it.
So there's a gator that takes Chubbs' hand, and then Happy actually got the gator because he took his eye out, right? So
Uh-huh.
he knew the gator. He got the gator and he sent it to one of these packing plants you were just talking about, and they taxidermied the head. And he gave it to Chubbs, and then it scared Chubbs so much he fell out the window and died.
For real?
Yeah, he killed it.
That's funny. I'm just
That's a
thinking
good
of-
movie.
Spoiler alert.
Did 2 come out yet, or are they still filming it?
I just heard like the other night that 2 was coming, and I was like,
Okay.
no,
Yeah.
stop.
Yeah, I remember talking a few months ago about it. That I know they were at least filming it or working on it, but I didn't know the time frame of it coming out.
Boy, I hope that's good.
Yeah, 'cause that's one of those. Man, the first one was
So
Pretty
brilliant.
pretty classic. boy.
Brilliant.
He
Yeah,
almost
and Jim, you
I have to
ruined-
check. I have to
Yeah.
check. I was just seeing some Adam Sandler stuff just a couple of days ago, and I was like, I have to watch some of these.
All right, so it's
I
very
never saw
Adam
Happy
Sandler.
Gilmore.
The price is wrong,
I saw
bitch.
The Water Boy, but what was the other one? Happy Gilmore.
Billy Madison is.
I never saw
Mhm.
Billy Madison.
So again, very Adam Sandler. Like
Yeah.
it's
yeah,
very,
of course, Adam
but,
Sandler comedy.
yeah,
I like Adam
just the
Sandler comedy.
entity,
Yeah, it's silly.
especially when they're done well.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. Hey, so I just want to wrap up before we go to the 10 o'clock break. So I have a legal question for you. Are you allowed to shoot an alligator if it's in your yard in Florida? Are you allowed to do that? Is it legal?
Well, is it present a threat? Because we have a castle doctrine, right? Stand your ground, baby.
Let's just say that. Yeah, it is a threat. Okay, for the question.
I'm going to say,
here.
considering that you have to buy a tag to kill an alligator, you have to like win a lotto to kill an alligator. I'm going to say the answer is no. You are not able to defend yourself in that manner.
What do you think,
Right.
Jimmy?
If it's posing a threat to humans, I would say yes. The answer would be yeah, you can.
Under Florida law, it's a third-degree felony to intentionally kill, injure, possess, or capture, or attempt to kill, injure, possess, or capture an alligator or other crocodilian,
Nice.
or the eggs of the alligator or other crocodilian, unless authorized by rules of the commission. So maybe in the commission stuff that if your life is in danger, maybe there's a rule in there.
I think you have to call and get some verbal and written
Right.
authorization.
But what they're telling you to do is to call the statewide nuisance alligator program, where they have professional trappers that will relocate any gators under 4 feet long, and they kill any gators longer than 4 feet long. That's what their job is.
Oh.
The statewide nuisance alligator program. We need to get those people on our show and just
Really?
talk to them about it.
So if
they
that
kill.
thing's like 4'2", he's dead.
Yes, he's a goner.
Oh,
Yeah, he's a goner.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's
I was surprised on. I thought that they would just relocate it,
Yeah,
no matter
all of
the size.
yeah,
I-
10-footer,
you know,
6-footer, 7-footer. Who cares?
But
Relocate it.
I got news for you. It may be illegal, but you're threatening my life.
Oh,
You know,
yeah,
I mean,
you're
if it's in
gone.
that now, if it's in a position where you can call somebody, well, okay,
Yeah.
that makes sense, because I wouldn't want to try. Was it that a video that went viral for a while where the guy was trying to round up that one? It was a smaller gator, but
Was
I
that
mean,
the
I
one
don't
in
care
the
if you're
garbage can?
forfeit- Yeah, with the garbage.
yeah, the
can.
garbage can. I
And it
love
was
that video.
Yeah, it's kind of funny. They just, fortunately nobody was hurt, so you can laugh at it afterwards. But
And at the same time, like that same week, some alligator went through a screen enclosure in the
Yeah.
front of the house,
Yeah.
and its tail started knocking on the door, and the guy came out, and there's the
Say-
alligator,
say,
like this
"Hey."
big alligator, right? The alligator was knocking on his door at the tail, and he's like,
Gators.
it was crazy. There was a lot of alligator stuff going on right at
yeah,
that
we
time.
seem to have a mad.
It must have been
rash
mating
of it.
season or something.
It could have been.
It could have
I
been
guess
at that time. We're going to go ahead and take a break. And on the flip side, we're going to kind of talk about what's kind of happening now, and what's going to happen in the future, as far as, is it a good time to buy or sell? Meaning, are interest rates going to go up or down? What we should expect in the future as far as demand for buyers and sellers in today's market. We're going to take a look at all of that.
Nice. On this last day of hurricane season
Yes.
for 2024,
Thank God.
as we celebrate together. A little cold front coming through. Beautiful thing. Thanks for being with us every Saturday. Always remember, here's a couple of really important details. Florida Talk Real Estate is a .com. You should write that down. Know it, use it, love it, share it. If you need a pro's pro, you're buying a home, selling a home, you're stuck with a home, you don't know what to do, anything that touches the world of real estate, you should be vetting any professional help that you're seeking, and let FloridaTalkRealEstate.com be start of the vetting process. Reach out to one of the pros, see what they can do for you. And it's a beautiful thing to be able to be passed from pro to pro. Because if you go someplace where they just specialize in one thing, well, that's what they're going to aim you towards every time to make whatever you got going on right. You got to go to a place where there's all kinds of resources, options. The umbrella is big, and that's what it's about. Florida Talk Real Estate. It's been built for 12 plus years, helping the community with everything that touches the world of real estate. So write it down. Know it, use it, love it, share it. It's FloridaTalkRealEstate.com. We're back in 4 minutes. Great to have you with us every Saturday. Florida Talk Real Estate right here on Real Radio.
The visual aid you need for all the freaky stuff we talk about on the radio. Find it at realradio921.com. Here's the latest with weather on Real Radio.
From the Gordon and Partners Weather Center. Have you or a loved one been injured through no fault of your own? Call 561-333-3333 or go to fortheinjured.com.
I'm CBS 12 meteorologist Charlotte Carl. High temperatures this afternoon topping out in the mid-70s across the area. More cloud cover than the last few days and a higher rain chance as that tail end of moisture pushes out of our area following that front moving through. Tomorrow afternoon highs look very similar. Overnight lows staying in the low and mid-60s.
This report is sponsored by Staples Stores. Staples has amazing deals on everything you need for the holidays, from custom holiday cards and photo gifts to laptops and gaming systems, even shipping solutions. And now save up to $350 on select computers. In-store only. Offer ends 12/28. Unwrap huge holiday savings at Staples.
Hey, it's your boy Johnny C here, host of Florida Talk Real Estate. They're tops when it comes to helping people buy and sell houses. But Florida Talk Real Estate is so much more than that. For 5 years, I've watched these guys help thousands of our listeners with any real estate need. They couldn't do it without their sponsors, who are experts in their fields. Check it out. Jim DePola, powered by Keller Williams Realty. Their team specializes in helping people sell their house for top dollar, and buyers get great deals on the purchase of their home. That's what they did for me and my family, and I couldn't be happier that I hired them for my real estate transaction. Mike Rao from the mortgage firm is one of our favorite guests on the show, and he is the mortgage guy. Whether you're looking for a refi or a mortgage to purchase a new home, Mike Rao will get you the answers you need. The mortgage firm is licensed to do loans in Florida, Alabama, Tennessee, and Georgia, and they have local offices that cover all of South Florida. So if you're thinking about a refi or a new mortgage, go to the mortgage guy, Mike Rao, and find out what he can do for you. The Mortgage Firm, Inc., NMLS 189233, Florida license MLD 78, equal housing lender. The law office of Paul A. Krasker has been specializing in real estate law for nearly 25 years and has the professional team you need. Upside down with your house, Paul's team can help you conduct short sales, loan modifications, even if you're behind on payments. They also help you with foreclosure defense and bankruptcy. They can even help you get a student loan modification and repair your credit to get the score you need. Paul's full service team has helped thousands of our listeners, and they can help you too. Trident Title LLC is the largest privately owned title company in Florida. When you need a title company to complete a refi, home purchase, or sale, Trident Title has got you covered. Not only do they offer competitive pricing, Trident Title has attorneys on staff to make sure if you have bumps in the road declaring title that you can get the job done. Beware, not all title companies in Florida have attorneys on staff. Trident Title does and complies with all the new federal regulations released last year. Ross Camaronets, owner of Brightway Insurance, has been helping our listeners get great rates on homeowners insurance plans. Haven't checked your homeowners insurance policy in a while? This is a great way to help reduce your monthly mortgage payment. Ross can also help with renters and auto insurance. Ross is only a phone call away and can usually get the answers you need same day.
Call Ross today at 561-425-6228 or drop by his office at 873 Donald Ross Road in Juno Beach.
So now you know why I'm happy to be part of the Florida Talk Real Estate Show, the longest running real estate show in Florida. And all these sponsors are just a phone call or a click away. Just call 888-973-7828. That's 888-973-7828. Or go to floridatalkrealestate.com. That's floridatalkrealestate.com. And don't forget to use the most accurate search engine to find your new home or ask for a free home valuation because floridatalkrealestate.com has you covered. That's floridatalkrealestate.com.
From the Anajar and Levine Accident Attorney Studios.
Have you been in an accident? Call Anajar and Levine Accident Attorneys at 1-800-747-FREE.
That's 1-800-747-3733.
Real Radio 92.1 is WZZR West Palm Beach, an iHeartRadio station.
Listen on your free iHeartRadio app for all your music, radio, and podcasts. Free never sounded so good. This is Florida Talk Real Estate with Jim DePola and Johnny C. Got a question for the show? Call us live at 1-877-927-6969.
Yep, that's it. Toll free, 877-927-6969. We got a little less than an hour remaining for you on this November 30. Yeah, I think I got that right. Last day of hurricane season. Great to have you with us every Saturday. Us, it's me, Johnny C., your old buddy, your old pal, your air traffic control. Jimothy is our producer extraordinaire. What's up, my brother?
I'm up, and good morning, and how you doing, Johnny?
Good, man.
Excellent.
A little chilly.
Yeah. In there, the room?
It is, yeah. My hands feel cold.
Typically is in that side.
Yeah. But they say it keeps you crisp.
Well,
Yeah, attentive. Yeah. Sparky. Something like that. Great to have you with us every Saturday. Normally I have like this, run on of like, hey, we got so-and-so. There's Ross Camaronets from Brighton. Today, we lean hard on our fearless leader. 12 plus years now. Almost 13, we found out. Coming up in January. It's going to be 13, you'll hear me say. 12 plus years he's been our fearless leader and running a top producing Keller Williams team. Keller Williams Innovations. Find the Florida Home Pros team. And my guy, Jimmy D. Jim DePola, how you be?
Thank you, Johnny. It's very hard to step on you this time because there's nobody else that you have to introduce first. So, so I didn't get to step on you this week. Sorry about that.
It's all
right?
good.
But in a few years, this is this real estate career I've had has been as long as my journalism career, which I just think is pretty wild
awesome.
when you think about it. This is the second career I've had in my life, so I kind of enjoy it.
So I just had kind of one of those not too long ago. I realized when I kind of get to 2025, I'll have spent half of my life in Florida.
Wow. Yep. Isn't that wild?
It is crazy.
Yeah, it is. It's pretty crazy because I've been down here since 74. So I've been down here 51 years now.
Wow.
In 25, it'll be 51 years. Pretty crazy.
That's straight Floridian.
Yeah. And so 5/6 of my life has been here.
Yeah. I mean, at what point? I mean, I basically feel like Floridian at this point, but at what point do you you just don't get to claim anything else anymore?
Yeah.
It's like you've been here long enough.
Unless you're a Floridian, you're a Floridian except to somebody who was born here, right? Then they're still going to have that pride.
Man, 51 years.
So I wanted to talk a little bit because this is the time of the year where all the national experts start talking about what they think is going to happen with the real estate market in 2025. So let me read you 2 headlines.
Awesome.
Headline number 1. Bad news if you're looking to buy a house in the next 2 years. Headline number 2. West Palm Beach, 3rd worst in the U.S. for pending home sales. Right? That's the way the real estate market, 3rd worst in the country.
US
yeah, that's what they're saying.
Pending home sales.
Right?
I kind of refuse to believe that.
Well,
we just have way too many people in this county.
It's funny that you mentioned that, Johnny.
And
this is funny because we have not talked.
I'm not falling for it, Jimothy.
We have not talked about this off air. So, Johnny, you're going right where I wanted to go with this. I just don't. I wasn't sure that we were really the 3rd worst in pending home sales in the country, and let me tell you why. When I read that article, which came out. When did this stupid article come out? This article came out on November 20th.
That's well said. At least stupid headline.
And I went and looked to see what the stats were. And, the October market stats, right? So Palm Beach County, West Palm Beach, let's take a look.
You just mentioned like a couple that are under contract.
Yeah.
Like just a couple from one guy in Palm Beach County that has at least a couple of pendings.
Yeah, we got 2 pendings for sure, right? We got 2 pendings in the county. Well, the closed sales in October of this year was 1,052 for October. We had 1,052 single family homes close in Palm Beach County. But the pending sales, I read this wrong. Maybe they're right. I was going to go the other way. I thought there were 1,400 pending in October, right? But that isn't true. That's how many pending inventory there is. So new pending sales, we only had 946.
Only?
Well, the reason why that's only is because that means that November, we're probably not going to hit 1,000 sales in November, right? For the month of November. And that's pretty sucky. Okay, so let me tell you for closed sales.
Well, okay, so
but sucky based on what? What's the perspective?
Well, so it's not great, but the 3rd lowest in the nation?
Well, I don't agree with that's a Redfin article, and this is why I don't always agree with Redfin. Redfin's a weird group. They tried to turn into Zillow, and that didn't work very well for them. So now they're trying to be a brokerage. And at Redfin, the agents are paid a salary and then given bonuses if they do X amount of production with X amount of good reviews and things like that. So I don't always trust their information, but they're claiming we're number 3 for worse. And they're saying we have a 13.8% decline in pending home sales compared to last year. But the stats we have show that the pending home sales is only down 8.5%.
So they're
So
off by
13
5%.
Yeah, which is a lot when
A
you're
lot.
thinking if eight and a half's the base and you're off by 5%,
They're
you're
like-
off by
they're
like
almost
60
doubling
something.
it.
Yeah, exactly. They're kind of in the general area of
Yeah.
what the facts are.
Oh,
But the thing is that's what's so important to understand when you're a consumer. This is how people price their houses wrong and stuff, or price the house incorrectly, or buyers not understanding if it's a good market or bad market for them. Because buyers still don't understand this, but this is a great market to buy. And the reason why it's a great market to buy is because there's tons of inventory out there. We just talked about how Chris offered $15,000 to a buyer to help them buy the house that they wanted to buy, right? You don't get that in strong markets. You don't get that kind of thing.
Right.
You don't get to look at a house 5 times, make offers on 2 other houses, get rejected, and then come back to the house you saw 5 times and get into contract, right? You don't that doesn't happen in other markets. This market is strong. Now the downside,
and we're not even in a quote buyer's market yet.
no, we only have 5 months of inventory. So technically, we only have 5 months of inventory right now in Palm Beach County. Buyer's market would be 6 months of inventory. And what that means is based on current sales, how long would it take to gobble up all the inventory that's on the market today without any new properties coming on the market? And if you have a 6-month number for that, then that's a neutral market. If it's above 6 months, it's a buyer's market. Below 6 months, it's a seller's market. But Mike and I had a conversation a couple of weeks ago. Looks like Mike's got a new chair over there. But a couple of weeks ago, Mike and I were talking how even though statistically we're not in a buyer's market, it feels like a buyer's market, and it does. It really does feel like a
But
buyer's
you just
market
gave
right now.
reasons why it feels that way.
Mhm.
But again, if the benchmark for buyer's market is we're just not even there yet, so it's even going to get a little bit better for buyers.
Yeah, I think it's going to get better.
Yeah.
And so that's something like buyers. If you think that you're beat up and down and out, you got to give us a call because we're going to wake you up and straighten you out and understand what the benefits are and figure out if you could afford to buy the home or not now. And if you can't, what we got to do to get you to become a home buyer on your timeline. But getting back to the closed sales, Jimmy, where you're saying that doesn't sound like that bad. 1,000 homes sold, 1,052 homes sold in a month. Over the last year, since January, let me just read the numbers from January till today real quick. January, we only had 811 in January. I couldn't believe that. Like when I saw 811, I remember when I saw it, I went, wow. I couldn't believe how low it was, right? Then the next month was February, 1,026, then 1,226, then 1,402, 1,439. That's May. Then May is when we had the highest interest rate jump, right, for the whole year. Then as soon as that happened, we started going down. And every month since May, the amount of sales has been going down. We went from 1,439 homes sold to 1,269 to 1,174 to 1,113 to 932 in September, right? That was second lowest in this for the year. And then we bumped up a little bit in October to 1,052. So normally before this year, our average was somewhere between 13 and 1,500 homes a month. And that during COVID, we got to almost 2,000 a month, right? Which was super, super high. But we're seeing inventory grow by leaps and bounds. We're 31% above for active listings. We're 31% above where we were this time last year.
Well, it sounds like based on what you were sharing from that article, their headline grab of Palm Beach County being the 3rd lowest pending sales in the nation, it sounds like they were doing year over year. So versus
it
a
does
year
say
ago.
from last year, it is year over year, but they're saying it's 13.8 and the county records are showing 8.5.
Right. So their numbers are off, but they were trying to say year over year where our drop is the 3rd lowest of the nation.
Right. Yeah.
Okay.
And then this is what drives me crazy. So they come up with this and it's wrong. The information is wrong,
And
right?
your numbers are wrong.
And then they call up realtors locally down here. And what do the realtors do? They agree with the reporter. right? They don't say, I don't agree with you.
Yeah,
I
your
don't
numbers
get-
are wrong.
Hey,
but-
I just looked at the Florida Association of Realtors stats and the information's different than what you got. They don't do that, right? So you have these realtors. I'm not going to name everybody, but there's a guy named Alex quoted in here who works for, a bigger brokerage. I'm not surprised, by the amount, the low amount of sales. I'm not surprised by that because I feel it in the market. Okay, I agree with that part, but um, some of the comments in here, I guess I'm using a bad example here, but
The
there's
quote should
another
be,
guy
I'm just
in
not
here.
willing to press a couple buttons and get my own information.
Yeah, but and these reporters, it's like becomes an echo chamber. The reporters say, "Hey, did you know this fact?" And it's not a fact at all.
Right.
And then the people that are being interviewed just agree with that
Yeah.
fact, even though it's not a fact. And then it becomes an echo chamber. And that's how we get all the crazy stuff that we get now. Right. And there's a couple reporters in here um, asking questions to realtors, and they're all in agreement with this. And I'm like, I'm glad WPTV didn't call me because I would have said, hey, your information's incorrect and let me explain it to you. And then they would have said, well, that would hurt our story.
Yeah.
So we're just going to cut Jim out of there. We don't need Jim in there.
How sad is
But
that?
these headlines are pretty scary, though, if you take about, third worst for pending home sales, bad time to buy a home for the next 2 years.
And that's why I sort of push back just a touch in the sense of they use the word worst, and worst implies bad. But there just aren't as many people moving. There aren't as many, and yet we still look at the amount of inventory, and we're not at that technical buyer's market yet where the standard was 6 months.
But
so,
But
again, what are the circumstances? Is it because people are overpricing when they're selling and not pending? There's many factors.
It's definitely
right?
affordability, Jimmy.
Right.
The biggest
That's-
problem isn't the insurance, and it isn't really the interest rates.
Mm-hmm.
It's those two things coupled with the prices.
Right.
And it makes it a triple whammy.
Right.
And then it just becomes too expensive.
Well, for so much of the nation, they don't have it like we have it. We do have the triple whammy though. Like, so insurance is a major factor.
It's becoming more common though. Like Denver is the number 2 market. One of my best friends lives in Denver, so we talk about the real estate market all the time. Not because he's a realtor or anything, but because he's like bought and sold and refied like 15 times in the last 20 years. I always joked with my friend, I should have just became your full-time realtor and I would have had enough money to live the rest of my life just doing your deals, right? Just doing his stuff. But Denver is the second worst insurance hikes in the country right now. And they're going through it like we're going through it, but they're going through it because of actual natural disaster problems, not fraud, right? So they're having problems because all the natural disasters they have.
Well, you can isolate a couple little pockets, but we're talking about when they say the nation. So the nation doesn't deal with insurance like couple of pockets do.
No, that's true.
Especially here.
But
and it's not newfound to us. We're not just like, oh, hey, we're having problems all of a sudden. We've been dealing with this for 2-3 years now.
But here's the biggest thing, and people don't want to talk about this, is that the study after study after study is showing right now that based on normal appreciation we get, which I used to say is 3 to 4 for Florida.
Right.
But it's really been 5 to 6 now for most of the years.
For 40 years, it's probably bumped our number up.
Yes.
Yeah.
I would say since 2020, we've been getting way high, double digit appreciation. So it's been averaging out like 5 or 6 now, but it used to be 3 or 4 over the last like 40 years, right? Sure. But now it's closer to 5 to 6, right?
Yeah, it kind of depends. It didn't matter when you bought your home. You can anticipate 3 to 4% appreciation year over year.
But based on all that, if you started at COVID, right, 2020, and how much appreciation the average home in South Florida got
at least
until today, we're 34% above where we should be. 34% for that appreciation.
Sure.
So even if we took where we should be, so even if we took 34% off of everybody's value of their home, we'd be exactly where we should have been for normal appreciation during that period of time. Right. But people don't look at it that way.
Nobody wants to hear that.
Right. They don't look at it that way. So if they see some of this frothy, I call it frothy appreciation, right? Not really based in reality. That appreciation is going to go away. Whether it goes away in a trickle effect, like slowly over time, or we have the massive correction like we did in 05, 06, nobody knows what's going to happen at this point for that. But we are overpriced for affordability. So if the prices dropped by 34%, these 6.5% interest rates would be nothing.
Well, yeah, it's interesting to say that though, because you could flip the other side of that coin is these price points would be nothing if they dropped the interest rates to 3%. Right?
But the difference is that the interest rates have only been 3% or under for
I
like an
understand.
18-month period in the
So
whole
I am-
history of the United
I am
States.
not one at all that got poisoned and rotted by the
Exactly.
ridiculously low, and I mean ridiculously low interest rates. That was almost like fraudulent in itself. As it was happening, it felt like this is yuck. This doesn't feel good. None of this feels good. Congratulations, everybody's getting a great rate, but this feels terrible.
Mhm.
And as it settles in, it ruined like a 6% interest rate. 7% is
Normal.
was
Yep.
kind of what it should be.
It's normal.
It should be. You should never balk at that, right? But
It's almost
but
the-
there's
it's almost-
article after article after article after the American dream is dead. Nobody's ever going to be able to buy a home again. As well, why? Because we have 6% interest rates. That's insanity.
No, but affordability has kind of pushed.
Of course.
Some,
But
but
the
that's
flip
some
side to that-
areas that,
The
you
flip
know,
side of that coin, though, again, even at our price points right now, with our over 34% appreciation to where we should be in the last 4 years, people would still buy at those price points and overpay for a desirable home if the interest rate was lower. I feel great about that statement. You're in it every day.
And it's
You're nodding your head.
And it's true that everything you're saying is true. And then once the interest rates go up, they don't see the value anymore, right? The value isn't there
It's
anymore.
crazy.
So that's why they will pay more money for the house when the interest rates are low. It's like, oh, my mortgage payment's
Isn't that
so low.
you're still paying for the same thing.
Mhm.
The only thing that's changed is how much interest you pay on the money you're borrowing. So the value, I'll pay way more for it if the money's cheaper that I'm borrowing, but I don't see the value in it if it's expensive to borrow the money.
Well,
That is such a weird
but
headspace.
it isn't that weird. So let me give you.
It is to me though.
Let me show you an example, maybe to look at it a different way. So let's say that there's this one community I'm thinking about in the Wellington area, right? It's a gated community. We helped a buyer go in there for $450 with interest rates around 4%, right? And they put a minimal down payment down. I don't know, it was 5% or whatever, but not a big 20%, no PMI down payment. So they were paying PMI, and the whole payment came out to, like, including the HOA fee and everything, came out to $3,800 a month. Then the prices skyrocketed, right? The prices like skyrocketed. They went from like $450 to like $850, right? Then they sold the house, but the interest rates were higher, right? They jumped up from 4% to the sixes. Now those people paying $800,000 or $850,000 for that same house, but in the sixes versus the fours, and paying $800 versus $450, their payment is like $7,500. It's like $3,000 a month more, right? So people could have afforded to move into that neighborhood when the prices were lower and the interest rates were lower, but when both things went up, it just becomes unaffordable to a lot of people unless they put bigger down payments and things like that.
But that's just that's
And I understand, but we really haven't seen anything like this before, because in 03, 05, when we had the super high rate of appreciation like we had after COVID, that's the last time that we had super high appreciation. The interest rates never got above like 5.5%, 6% total. And the prices, even though they went up really high, it was still relatively low compared to where we are today for the median sales price, right? The median sales price in 03, 05 was probably $300,000, $325,000, and now it's
True.
$615,000.
But so they were able to kind of, they being a lot of the buyers, and I might be speaking a little bit ignorantly because I obviously am not. I'm a radio guy, but we've covered a lot of it. The advantage at that time was it was way softer to get lending, right? So you take your bite. You're I'll take
Yeah,
a little
that's
lump.
true.
I'll
There
take a
was
little lump
crazy
on my
lending.
interest
Yeah,
rate.
it was
I
crazy.
just stated my income. I make 30,000 a year. I told them I make 100 grand.
Right.
I just bought a house I have no business buying.
Right.
So little different world. I mean, that wild west.
Well, that's true. There was a lot of
I'll take that.
dirty mortgages. There were a lot of dirty mortgages back then.
Yeah.
A lot.
Yeah.
So it's going to be kind of interesting to see. So what the national economists are predicting, or experts, I want to say experts because it's economists, it's bankers, it's the National Association of Realtor,
Everybody,
those kind of people, right?
Yeah.
The Wall Streeters, they're all trying to predict what's going to happen next year. What everybody's saying, and they don't always agree, but they're all pretty close in their predictions. They're thinking that we're going to stay in the sixes all of next year.
How would we not?
And they're predicting all in the year after that, but who knows what's going to happen in 2026. 2025 is crazy too. But you like to predict what's going to happen a year from now. But they're thinking where we are right now is where we're going to be. So
as far as rates to get a home loan,
interest rate,
right? The Fed rate might change.
Well, what we've learned over the last couple of rate cuts is the Fed rate does not really affect the interest rates as much as people thought they did.
Right.
Conventional wisdom
that was not tied together correctly, which I'm going to, let's bring this up right now. I'm going to pull it up on the screen right now just to give you an idea. You know what I thought would be fun today would be to take a look at these two charts that I use all the time for the show, just to show you what this thing looks like. So hold on here one second.
FloridaTalkRealEstate.com. That's FloridaTalkRealEstate.com. We're on Facebook and YouTube. In fact, Jim's going to be showing you some stuff right now if you join us on the stream. If you're not able to while we're live, always remember you can go back later and check out all this stuff. Ton of informational chunk videos to consume on Florida Talk Real Estate LLC on YouTube. And of course, the Facebook page, all kinds of snippets to consume and share, as you should be sharing as well. FloridaTalkRealEstate.com. Buying a home, selling a home. You're stuck with a home, you're not quite sure what to do. Everything that touches real estate, we got a pro for you, a professional lined up at FloridaTalkRealEstate.com. Know it, use it, love it, share it. It's FloridaTalkRealEstate.com.
Thank you so much, Johnny. So what I just pulled up on our Facebook and YouTube podcast is the Freddie Mac chart that I use every single week when Mike is here to talk about what happens. So let's just talk about this week. We're at 6.8. We're at 6.81. Last week we were at 6.84. So we went down just slightly, like we're basically flat. And the other thing is that for the weekly average, we're actually a little above the 52-week average. We were at 6.73 for the 52-week average. We're at 6.81 right now. The highest we got this year was 7.22. So we're still down. We're not at the high for the year. But if you look at the chart, if you guys ever look at the Facebook or YouTube thing and you look at the chart, what you're going to see is like right before the Fed cut the rate.
Did you push the button? Are they able to see it?
Yes, it's actually there this time. Yeah, thank you. I wanted to make sure. But it was at 6.08 before the Fed started cutting the rate. We had two Fed cut rates since September and October. And now we're up to 6.81 and we got as high as 6.84. So if you look at this Freddie Mac chart, when we were telling people, hey, the rates are dropping, you should really get back into the market. We were telling you that back in May, and the rates basically dropped all the way until September. So that whole time people were waiting for the Fed to cut the rate, the rates were already dropping naturally, right? Then when the Fed did cut the rate, and everybody's like, yay, the Fed cut the rate, let's go out and go shopping now, or let's get the refi. And then the rates started going up. And if you look at this chart, you're going to see that it went up pretty quickly, pretty fast. And the other chart I have on here that's really important to look at is, hold on here, I'm just pulling up one more, Johnny, just 1 second here, is something that we hardly ever talk about that I'm talking more about lately. And that's the the 10-year Treasury bill. And the reason why I'm switching over the 10-year Treasury bill a little bit, that's the moment to moment of what the interest rates are doing for the mortgages.
Yeah, Mike's taught us that.
Yeah, and he's taught us that a lot. And I have that up on the chart. I think I have it up on the chart. Hold on. Pretty sure. Yep, I have it on the chart right now. What you're going to see is that in September, the 10-year T-bill rate was the lowest rate it's been for like 2 years, right? And then it went up like at a higher than a 45-degree angle. It went up fast and super high and fast, right? And now we're starting to see just over the Thanksgiving weekend, we're starting to see multiple day of easing of the interest rate. But even though we've dropped just slightly on the T-bill, which hopefully will result in lower interest rates for us, it's probably going to bring it down to like 6.75 or 6.65, something like that. Nothing dramatic from the 6.81. You'll save a couple bucks on your mortgage payment.
Mid sixes.
Yeah, you're going to be in the mid sixes. So we don't think that anything's really going to change as far as the interest rates. So we're not getting relief on interest rates. We're probably not going to get much relief on homeowners insurance. Now, Ross Camaronets from Brightway Insurance, he is showing and seeing that the insurance rates are flattening out, and he's actually seen slight decreases with certain policies. Nothing to write home about, but $100 here, $200 there, just a little bit of relief versus 20% increase, 15% increase.
Yeah.
We're not seeing that anymore, so that's a good thing.
Well, we don't celebrate the little wins ever. And I come from the school of I will celebrate the little wins because I like to celebrate. And if we don't celebrate the little ones, we
might
may
not
never
celebrate. Right. You may never celebrate.
Yes.
Well, and the whole purpose of what they did as far as trying to deal with the fraud and everything. I mean, we knew that it was going to take time to work itself down and out in the system, and then eventually we'll start hopefully seeing carriers come back into Florida and making it more competitive, and that would bring rates down. But that's going to take time, and that was only 2 years ago.
2 years ago,
and I remember when that went through, and Ross sat there and said, about 2 years, and we'll start seeing some changes.
He was right on.
If anything, maybe it happened a little bit sooner than he predicted, but other than that, we're right on that pace, and hopefully it will keep going down, and we'll get more carriers back in. But it was an interesting because so many people, even myself at the time, thought, well, the rates are high in Florida because of all the hurricanes, and that's not really the factor.
And I wouldn't have bet that.
Right,
And thank God we have Ross here to teach us, teach us about really what's going on. He was so confident that we would see the policy premiums drop over time.
Sure.
He was so confident about it. I was like, really? But
I'll tell you what, though, I as much as we love seeing what's happened, where they're weeding out all the fraud, we spoke about it in real time. You're taking the teeth away from the consumer. You made it harder for them to actually fight against their insurance companies, and it's playing out. Headlines, they're just refusing policies. They're just like, nope. Sue us. Because you can't just contingently sign on anymore. State law. That's right. They protected that entity that is the insurance companies in the state of Florida. Our legislators said, we're going to protect you guys. They can't come after you anymore in the name of eliminating fraud, right? That's the way it was predicted. We'll take it for what it's worth. Now, after we've seen some storms, more and more headlines of people that are like, yeah, they just not paying my claims. And they can sue them, but you're coming out of pocket.
I just talked to somebody in Madeira Beach, and they have a multi-unit compound for like not bed and breakfast, but like small rental cottages. And she didn't have flood insurance, and she didn't get any relief, and she's going to have to take care of the whole mess herself. I have a cousin that has relatives in Fort Myers. They lived in a multi-story condo. They didn't have flood insurance. They only had they only had flood insurance. I don't understand this part, but they had water damage come in through the windows. They're not being covered. They're being rejected for theirs, right? So there's people that are having a lot of problems, and I agree with you, Johnny. When they put out what they did was, in order to reduce the insurance costs for homeowners, some of these insurance companies offered a plan where if you waived your right to sue them, you would get a decrease on your homeowner's insurance. So
There
a
was
lot of
that one
people,
too.
so they put that into there, and now the insurance companies have all of control because you can't sue them because you've already signed a document saying, I'm not going to sue you.
Yeah, now they can just go, nah.
Yeah, so it's, it works both ways. So we went through
Yeah.
one type of pain, right? Which is the consumer defrauding the insurance companies.
I always seem to tend to side with the players if it's sports. I'd side with the laborers.
I'm a Main Streeter.
I'm a union guy. Yeah, I am too.
Yeah.
I don't side with big corporations. I side with we the people, the
Mhm.
consumer. So I don't know. That's just my nature. So maybe I'm always on the wrong side, but I care more about the people than the corporation.
Well, it's like everything. There's one extreme to the other, but somewhere usually in the middle is where it should be, and the best solution would be there. And maybe they do. Maybe eventually we adjust it back to. Wait a minute, maybe we went a little far on it. Hey, I understand that there's a lot of reason to be skeptical of something like that happening, but let's hope so. But I mean, really,
sadly
something did have to be done, and of course, as we learned, what did Ross used to say? Like 80% of all insurance,
I think it was
fraud
like 70
cases
close, like
were
78%, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
78% was what, but we're only 2% of all the claims, but we were 78% of the legal.
78% of what they paid
Yeah.
was legal.
Right. Yeah. It was like, it's crazy town when you see the statistics. So we
It had
are
to be
Florida.
stopped. It had
We're
to be
number
stopped.
one in
Yeah.
fraud of everything,
Yeah, it
right?
had
We're
to be stopped.
It had to be stopped. So it'll be interesting to see what's happening, but this is the bottom line that you have to understand as a consumer. If you're a seller and you're waiting for, I had a person where I had my first expired listing in like 3 years or something, right? That was the house that had the solar panels on it. And they wanted the new owners to pay for the solar panels because they had just put them on, and they were making a payment on it, and it was assumable. So their salespeople for the solar panels like, don't worry about it. When you sell the house, they could just take over the loan for the solar panel on top of the house.
I heard that. Yeah, I had one of those
you remember
pitches to me one time.
Yeah.
So
And I was like, that isn't the way it's going to work in the real world. Unless you get a greenie that really wants a solar panel. I knew one family that's exactly what they wanted. But unless you're that family and you're looking for a solar panel, if the house has the solar panels, you don't want to pay an extra $40,000 for the house because that's solar panel, right? And he would not drop the price where I think it needed to be. So we went expired. So what did he decide to do? He went ahead and decided that he's going to rent it out. And when he was told it was going to be rented out, they told him that it would probably be $1,000 a month more than what they actually listed it for the rental. So I'm just making complete numbers up. Hey, I can rent your house for $4,000 a month. Then when you take the listing, it's like, let's do it at $3,000. Right. So the thing is like what I explained to him is that I don't think the market's going to get a lot better. And I don't think you're going to, based on the price of his house, that 40,000 is like 10% of his house value. Right. And I go, I don't think you're going to see 10% appreciation over the next year or so. You're going to have a house that's down here. You're living in another state. You should just rip the Band-Aid off. It wasn't like he was going to take a loss or anything. It wasn't that he was going to get the profit he wanted. And sometimes when you're chasing the profit, it's kind of like being a gambler chasing that big number that you want to get. You don't, and you're close, but you don't get there. So you keep gambling, then you lose it all and you don't get any of it. You're not, farther away.
So close.
And you were close, but you didn't get there.
Yep.
And people could do that in today's market. So here's the two things. If you're a seller, you need to sell your house, price it correctly, stage it, make sure that you're open-minded with the buyers and be very open to work with the buyers and be creative and try to work with them and really understand your numbers with an agent that really understands your neighborhood and your neighborhood values and what makes your house valuable in that neighborhood to buyers, and then understand what buyers would need to get your house sold over the other houses, to pick your house over the other houses. If you're a buyer, sitting sitting around, and this is the thing Mike Rao will tell you all the time, sitting around waiting to find out what the interest rate is to decide if you're going to do something is really not the way to buy a house, okay? Especially if you're a first-time home buyer,
Wow.
right? The way you decide if you're going to buy a house is A, do you need to buy a house? And B, can I afford to buy the house, and how much house can I afford?
That's right.
At today's current interest rates, right? Don't
Right.
worry about what's going to happen with the future of interest rates. What will happen if you try to buy a house today with today's interest rates?
Every time I get an email from you with a property that's on the MLS that I'm interested in, I punch the numbers into the app that Mike
Mike's
gave
app,
me,
yeah.
and it shows me like what my monthly obligation will be, and it shows me if it fits in my parameters or not. Like there's no guessing.
Yeah, so don't try to play. This is not the kind of market to play with. If you're serious about selling, you got to know your numbers and go for the jugular and get the thing done. If you're a buyer, you have a lot of opportunities. You can get down payment assistance programs. You can get down payment assistance programs that aren't down payment assistance programs from the seller.
Yeah,
Where
we'll
the
make a
seller will
program.
we're going to make up down payment
Yep.
assistance programs for you by getting money from the seller or repairs for the seller. Roberto and Yanelli, they're the property, the 3-bedroom, 2-bath home in Port St. Lucie we just picked up, but we talked about a little bit earlier. They're going to be priced correctly for their 3-bedroom, 2-bath pool home. It's going to be under $400,000, and it's going to have a brand new roof, a 2025 roof.
Nice.
Why? They had hurricane damage, and they got approval just recently, and the insurance is going to put on the brand new roof for them.
Awesome.
So whoever gets that house is going to have a house that was totally upgraded in 2018, right before they bought it. Then they put in a new AC. They're going to be putting in a new roof, right? So you have a 2018 renovated everything, plus new roof, new AC, pool home, under $400,000.
Wow.
That's a good deal.
Yeah.
In anywhere in South Florida right now. So there are opportunities out there for buyers. So don't be depressed. Don't read these headlines saying it's a bad time to buy for the next 2 years. I actually burst out laughing when I read that. I'm like, who needs to take some antidepressants that wrote this headline? This person needs to take an antidepressant right away, right? So just be careful about overanalyzing the market too much. You need to go to professionals, and if you need to sell or you need to buy, go to a professional that's not going to pressure you and figure out how to make it happen.
Well, you say overanalyze, and the reality is that overanalyzing, and we do it often based on filling in the blanks with our own nonsense, not real stuff. All the real numbers in your real scenario is what truly matters, which is why you should go to floridatalkrealestate.com. Find out where you stand. If you're like, oh, I'll never be able to buy a home. I know the sentiment. I was there. In fact, it was September 14th, if I'm not mistaken, was just our, no, it was September
14 year?
It was 10 years.
10 years.
14,
10
we bought
years.
him 14.
September 2014.
20. Yeah. Okay. There it is.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we just celebrated 10 years in our spot. And I had that exact sentiment. Like, I'm never going to buy a home. I understand. When you know where you're at, the reality of your positioning and what it's going to take, sometimes the answer is you're ready right now. For me at the time, I was not. Let's just put it that way. I needed a lot of help. And thankfully I had a lot of help around me that I will never be able to pay back. But you can access the same team, these same professionals that position me and my family. They can do that for you too. Let you know exactly where you're looking, how you're looking, and if there's anything you can do to make it a little bit better. And the path to do just that. It can happen quickly too. FloridaTalkRealEstate.com. Maybe you're looking to sell your home and you want to maximize, and you're like, I don't want to be on the market for 300 days.
Yeah.
Well, you got to work with really, really good people that are great at what they do. There's lots of good people that are okay at what they do. You might even know some of those people. And I know you're kind of have a tendency to go to people that you know. I just had this conversation over Thanksgiving with some family members. The facts are, people that we know and love may not be our best option. I love a lot of people. They just suck at what they do. I prefer to go to people that are great at what they do. FloridaTalkRealEstate.com. FloridaTalkRealEstate.com. People that are great at what they do. And you're going to like them as people too. Trust me.
So let me play around. Let me play Mr. Media for a second just to show the consumer how to understand these numbers better. So, you know how they talk about foreclosures on the rise or anything? You hear
Right.
that in the paper.
Sure,
Oh, the
sure.
foreclosures. So I haven't checked that foreclosure. Remember how we go online? And I got it up on the screen now. There's 54,728 properties for sale in the MLS right now.
What's the number again?
Residential, 54,728, which actually is very high compared to last time I checked. I think we were at 49,000.
It's like in the 40s, yeah.
Yeah. So it has jumped up a lot, which just shows our inventories increased 31% over the last year. But
sorry to be ignorant, but that's MLS for the United States.
no, this
Or
is
it
Florida.
just Florida?
This is
Okay.
Florida,
This
and
is
it
Florida.
isn't the
Okay.
whole state of Florida. It's only our MLS, and there's
Right,
like 14 MLSs in Florida.
Oh, wow.
Okay, yeah, it's like crazy town. So,
That's the continuity.
Yeah,
yeah, exactly. Right?
Thank
'Cause-
you, Johnny.
right.
Yeah,
So-
reeling that in for me. 'Cause
if I
get
were
it.
if I were a journalist and I wanted to write a story about foreclosures in this market, foreclosures and short sales, right? I could say that short sales and foreclosures since the last time we did this have increased by 50%.
Yeah, the percentage, I love it.
50%,
Yeah.
50%, right?
That's a big number.
Yes, very big number. So let's take a look at this. So we got 54,000 houses for sale, and we have 50% increase in short sales and foreclosure. So how many short sales out of the 54,000
We must be
properties for
circling the
sale?
drain.
How many short sales are there with the 50% increase? How many short sales do we got now?
Wow. We have
I'm going to say we're up to what, about 38?
I was going to say 42.
Actually, it has increased a little bit. 118
Oh,
out of
okay.
54,000 properties.
So
there's
we were at
118
a higher
short
number
sales.
than we remembered then.
But the
yeah.
REOs, now the short sales did increase a lot because we were in like 48 or something. So
Okay.
they doubled, almost tripled. And then REOs, which are foreclosures, there's 245.
Oh.
Now, before, when we were doing this every single week, we were doing about 225 to 250 total short sales in foreclosure, right? But now we have that amount just in the foreclosures. Then we got another 118 short sales. So if you add those together, we're 50% up compared to where we were. But that means we only have 360 properties out of 54,000 that are in foreclosure or
right,
short sales.
right.
Right. So you can see the headlines coming up soon. Hey, we're 50% our foreclosures have spiked in Florida or spiked in the area.
So what's the number?
It has.
But
What's the number again for foreclosure? Leave the short sale out because short sale is a
200
little different beast
245.
compared to what was it last time?
I would say like 175 because we had about 225 total and about 50 short sales and 175
Because
foreclosures.
So in a foreclosure situation, correct me if I'm wrong. If your equity positioning is right, clearly foreclosure is not your best option, right? Sell the home,
Right.
And if it's not quite right, short sale, negotiate with the bank to try to take a little bit less, right? So you're not.
The foreclosures, Johnny, are already owned by the bank, so they've already snatched the house back.
Right.
So
Right.
but those are situations though where your equity positioning was never good, or you were so poorly led that nobody explained to you you had equity. Let's sell. Let's get right.
Unfortunately,
so for me,
that happens a lot.
okay, well then you're kind of correcting me because for me, when I see foreclosures going up, these are people that bid off too much more than they can chew. And they were expecting equity in their home overnight, like we saw in the last handful of years. Because if you bought in the last year or year and a half, you had a pretty high interest rate. You paid a pretty premium price.
Mm-hmm.
You're not sitting on a big hunk of 10% equity, probably.
Right, that's true.
There are some anomalies out there, but maybe if you got 3% equity, the norm, you're feeling pretty good. But I feel like, at least the way I picture it, those are all people that bid off too much and really learned quickly they bid off too much and unfortunately didn't have the equity positioning and had no choice but to. Am I wrong?
The people I see that are in trouble right now, because I'm getting calls from people that are in trouble. They're having major life-threatening health issues.
Oh, yeah.
And it's affecting their employment. Like they can't work even if they wanted to because they're in the hospital and dealing with their stuff. unemployment in general, right?
Which is interesting because we're kind of in this like real flat employment.
Yeah,
spot.
our unemployment's been hovering around right around 4.5% for a very long time now, which is actually a very healthy unemployment rate. That's a productive unemployment rate. A little bit lower than that, we'd be complaining.
Not a ton of hiring right now. There's not a lot of quitting right now either, though. Everybody's kind of
Right.
just sitting in right now.
Right. So there's a lot of people, and here's the thing that happens with people that have equity but get in trouble with their house. If they miss a payment or a couple payments, let's say your house is worth 500, you have $400,000 mortgage, right? And you miss 3 payments. And then the bank starts coming after you saying, "Hey, we're going to file foreclosure against you, Jim, if you don't take care of this problem right away." Right? So then Jim says, "Oh, no problem. I got my house is worth 500. I only owe 400. I can make up the payments by grabbing the equity from my house and making back the payments." But you can't, because there's nobody that's going to give you the money from the equity in your house unless you sell it. And that's where people get really, really jammed up, because it blows their mind that they can't touch their equity
Well, the
anymore.
bank's not going to do anything for you when you're 3 months behind in the rears either. I mean, you're in a really tough spot.
Right. Now, what we have seen, I just met with somebody recently that got a very nice loan modification that they needed, because they had so much equity in their house. The bank was willing to work with them because they didn't feel it was that risky, because they had so much equity. The missed payments they had was a little tiny fraction of the equity they had in the house.
You're kind of saying you're emphasizing my kind of viewpoint of it, though, that we're seeing these are probably people that bit off a little bit too much more than they can chew and are learning the hard way quickly. And the equity position isn't there to bail them out, right?
Yeah, and that's where the people really get jammed up. And the other thing that happens is, in today's market, which I think is super sad, the people have a ton of equity. They don't know how to tap it. The bank is foreclosing on them. There's a certain type of person that when they get foreclosed on, they actually beat themselves up. It's almost like they're punishing themselves.
And they just bury their head in the sand.
And they bury their head in the sand.
Take my lumps because I deserve it.
I deserve this. The bank's going to take that.
Irish.
There's nothing.
I know you people.
There's
You're
nothing.
my family, aren't
Right.
you?
There's nothing I can do about this. I can't get access to the property. Let just the bank do whatever they can. I'm embarrassed. This is mortifying to me. And they lose all this money. And they don't have to do that. They could pick up the phone and call the bank and go, "Hey, I know I'm 2 payments behind. This is why, but I'm sitting on $150,000. Can you work with me here?" Right? They're probably going to say yes. Right? Or you could just go ahead and sell the house, take all the equity, pay back the mortgage, pay back the late payments, then maybe even rent for a year if you have enough equity, and then go buy another house a year later after you've had time to have the missed payments go away from your credit.
Right.
So in today's market, if you are in trouble with your house, we're the ones you're supposed to call. We guys, our whole team is built to help you if you're in trouble with your mortgage. We're here for you.
Really, since day one. I mean, it's
that's how we started this show.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So if you're ever in trouble, we're here for you for that. But we're here for you on any level. But when you're in trouble, that's where it isn't like the best help you can get, because we're good on all levels. But we're going to get you the right information that you need, not what we want to tell you, your options that are best for you.
Well, so if you go to a bankruptcy attorney, they're going to push you into bankruptcy because that's what they do, right? If you go to a team that has all these different services and ideas and options, again, we talk about that umbrella kind of covering everything. When you're stuck with a home and you don't know what to do, having options is a power play. In a position where you're kind of powerless, you're put in a position where you're like, oh, okay, maybe not totally powerless. I have options, which is a power move. And what's going to be best for you and your family? This one leads to this one. This one leads to that. This one leads to that. But having it laid out, explained to you, and then you make the right decision for you and your family, that's powerful. You can do that. Whether you're buying a home, selling a home, stuck with a home, you don't know what to do. You got to go to people that are great at what they do. Have all the options on the table, lay it out, explain it to you, and your family so you can make the wise choice and the choice that you feel good about. That's why we hear a lot of the success stories, the shout outs. They're also wonderful because they're even the ones that come back around years later. So happy we chose the team. And then we hear the ones that they've done it again, choose the team again and again and again.
Just want to do one really quick thing. I know we got 2 seconds. Jackie has been Facebooking us. If you have any questions on reverse mortgages, give us a call. Mike is an expert on reverse mortgages, and there are some that are a little scammy and some are very legit. So you want to pick the right one. If you need help on that, we can help you.
It's tricky and it can be very beneficial.
Mike did one for my parents.
Yep, can be very beneficial.
Mm-hmm.
Just everything's got to be right.
Mm-hmm.
Every situation's like a snowflake.
Yep, it is. It is. You got to check out everything.
You really do. And you got to have pros that are leading you, that care about your outcome. That's what truly matters. This team cares about your outcome. It's not about making a buck off of you. That always happens in business. It's about taking care of you and getting the referral.